live, especially when you're watching with a keen eye on good players, just how physically impressive they are. Chase DeLauder, like the way that he moves was astounding to me. And it's one of those things where you probably pick up on some of the physicality when you're watching it on video, but when you are seeing it live, he was just one that really stood out to me. I think like most of my picks are probably a little bit more in the mud, as Nate Handy would put it. Like I would love to talk about Damiano Palmigiani or Cheese. I would love to talk about Caleb Durbin a little bit. Ben Cowles, I enjoyed watching him. He's got some wheels. And then Jack Brannigan. We don't have any defensive film of Jack Brannigan, but he looked so good at shortstop. So those are the kinds of guys that, you know, I think I walk away from the AFL being like, maybe there's something here. But, you know, it could also make sense to start with the Chase DeLauders, the Colson Montgomerys, the Kyle Manzardos.
Sure. Yeah. So Victor Scott was actually one of the, like my biggest standouts. And so I just wanted to, I've got a wide variety of shots that, you know, reducing juice, our cheese guy down here, but looking at Victor Scott, he did so many things like extremely well, like across the board. And he was impressive. I think I saw him 4 times when I was out there. He did some crazy stuff. He hit lefties well. He hit 2 bombs off lefties. He hit, I think 2 of his home runs in the fall league were off lefties. I actually included, I want to go back and kind of look at that because I did get that highlight of Wilmer Flores getting him a chase on a slider. I think that was the only swing and miss that, like, or one of the few swing and misses that I saw. And like, that's pretty impressive. I mean, he's got such good mechanics. We're going to go to the open face in just a second, but yeah, here's an open face and we're going to go slow-mo. His swing and bat speed are so good. Here's a slow-mo shot of it where he just watches lower half. There's so much torque in that lower half. The swing's so simple. Go back to that and just see it again because I really love what I saw. Go back. We'll see the slow-mo. Watch his lower half. Watch his hands and the explosiveness. Golly. And that's slow-mo. Like I love what I saw from Victor Scott all week. Dude's got wheels. We saw him get jammed on he got hit by like a 97-mile-an-hour fastball on the knee. And I thought he broke his kneecap. Like it sounded like he broke his knee over at Glendale. That was Friday night game. And he ultimately, like after shaking it off, he stole 2 bases on the next pitch. Like he stole second and then he immediately stole third as well on a bad throw by Kevin Prada, you know, nonetheless. But
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Scott was a lot of fun. Obviously we know he's got wheels, but he's got juice. My friend Greg in the chat, Greg from Prospects Live is in here. Greg is talking about his power. There is power in here. And in 1 week of us being there, he put up 3 batted balls over 105, which is pretty crazy. What were your thoughts on Victor Scott this week?
Combing back through the tape, and I think that open face look that you showed was really important for me to see. His entire operation is very quiet, and I really like that. If you get that open face view again, starts with the bat kind of flat on his shoulder. He's not doing a lot with his hands like a lot of other hitters that we saw out there. It's very quiet, and he goes right into a back hip load, and then all of his momentum is forward. There's no wasted movement there. And so the mechanics are great. He hit the ball harder than I thought he was going to, especially given his size. And then it felt like, you know, I would pull up my phone to tweet something about Victor Scott just, you know, roped a double or something. And by the time I, you know, had tweeted anything about what he had just done at the plate, he was standing on third base. It would be like 30 seconds of game time that elapsed. Second base is free when he's there. So and the thing was, like, I watched an interview, clip of an interview with him and Aram, who we happened to meet up with at some games. And he was talking about how instinctual it is and how he's always studying the pitcher. It's not all these bags are just because he has, you know, an 8 on the legs. It's because he's able to read pitchers so well.
Yep. I agree. And he did really read. I thought his jumps were incredible. He stole with such ease. And, you know, the comp's been thrown out a lot that, you know, the Esteury Ruiz thing, like he's better than Esteury Ruiz. And, you know, I will give, I think it was either Matty Backpack in the Discord or it was the rookie Matt from B-Sides with Nate, that they asked me about Victor Scott like in February of this year. And I was like, I don't think there's anything there, to be honest, because like you looked at his data last year and this wasn't good, but he made substantial strides this year. And ultimately, I do believe in the power now. I think he's a top 50 fantasy prospect because the wheels, for one, he impacts the game in such a big way. The contact skills are so good. And the fact that I think he's got like 10 home run juice, like he's equal speed of Esteury Ruiz. He's got more power than Esteury Ruiz, and he has ultimately a better hit tool than Esteury Ruiz. So I'm pretty much all in on Victor Scott at this point. And I think he's a sneaky redraft target, especially in deeper leagues like a DC, because even if you get half a season from him, he could steal 30 bases. Like that's a game changer down the stretch. So certainly going to be a like. I think his ADP was like 750, like pre-AFL. I bet it's like 500, but I'd still invest in that, honestly. Greg asked Carl Crawford Cop. We actually talked about it. I forgot who I talked about that with out there, but I don't think it's crazy, honestly. Like he does so many things well, and he plays a 70 to 80 grade center field as well. The funny thing is, like, we saw him misplay a ball in center, which it was a weird ball. Like, it sliced really bad. Like, it had some wicked sides. But I think it was like AJ Vukovic, who I liked a lot. But Vuk hit like this weird, like it cut off the bat, and it was funky. But yeah, I don't know if you saw the play 2 nights ago where he like robbed Ryan Bliss's home run. Like, that was wild. So yeah, Victor Scott across the board, really, really good. Hey, by the way, like, if you're listening, you can fully customize what you're viewing in here too. Like, if you want to go around, like, you can move me and Beck around. You can move everything around the screen, which is really cool. It's another cool feature I like about Playback. And if you want to download their app, I think the app's probably the easiest way to watch. But it is a neat setup because you get to fully customize what you're watching too. And, that's my first time, so I'm not like fully like in depth with it, but it is kind of a neat little setup on how you want to view everything. I think you can probably even like remove us and just watch the film if you want to, but Victor Scott ADP 693. Yeah, I think that he probably went pretty high in one of the drafts, like either at the drafts at first pitch wouldn't be in there yet because they haven't been completed. Matt R asked, how do you rank Tyler Black, Victor Scott, Jet Williams, and Luis Angel Acuna, the speed crowd? Beck, you can go give it from the points perspective, and let's give your thoughts.
Maybe just about him being an excellent defender before we jump into the ranking these guys. His defense is going to keep him on the field kind of regardless of what the bat is doing. So if he ever falls into a slump, you know that he's still going to be in the lineup, and compiling is, at least, from a points perspective, a really useful skill as well. So I know we don't care as much about defense for fantasy, but being an 80 grade, 70, 80 grade defender in center field, it's going to keep him in the lineup. So that is just excess value there. Tyler Black, Victor Scott, Jet Williams, Luis Angel Acuna. I would put Scott as a clear first. I think I would have a hard time parsing Jet and Acuna without looking at run times. I think they're probably in a similar realm. And then Black always struck me as an above average runner who is really instinctual, taking those bags on, guys who are maybe a little bit younger than him, and is able to read some moves that aren't super refined, especially.
Yeah, I can get on board with that for sure. If I'm ranking them, like, I've got Victor Scott at the top of this group. I like Luis Angel Acuna, but I certainly saw some things I didn't love after he moved over to the Mets system. I would say Tyler Black's probably the back of this group. I'm not fully sold on Black's profile. I know a lot are, but I'm not. I think he's a back end top 100 guy, but I'm not like all in on Tyler Black. I'm more in on Jet Williams than I was, but I'm still not like top 15 like some. Like, I'm not going to get there. He's like in my like 50 to 60 range, and I think Victor Scott's like 40 to 50 range at this point for me. Rafaela, yeah, I mean, if you want instant contribution, like, it's Rafaela for me. So we know he's going to be on the field, and he's instant impact, and I like what he brings to the table. Let's jump over to Kyle Manzardo. He had a monster home run in Fall Stars game. He had a big week. Kendall Williams, he absolutely got obliterated both times we saw him that way. I was actually looking forward to seeing Kendall Williams, but he just got absolutely destroyed. And so Manzardo's swing's interesting. Like, I want you to watch this slow-mo. It's very flat. Like, but he hit some majestic home runs. Like, he hit 2 the other night. It's very, like, I don't know. I don't think it's a bad swing at all. I think it's a good swing. But ultimately, like, it's interesting. So there are some interesting things too with Manzardo because, we talked to him. He said he wants everything like low and in. And so, or like low, like center low, I guess. And it shows with the swing. This swing is certainly geared for a player that is going to have more success against pitches like middle or lower in the zone. But this ball was up and like he really got all of it. So I think Manzardo certainly could be the Guardians opening day first baseman. I'm not ruling out with the big spring training. He showed me everything I needed to see here, that he's bounced back. We know what he dealt with in the during the season with his mother, and that's enough to derail somebody ultimately. Mm-hmm. So I think Manzardo is a ball player. He's very analytically driven. He was an incredible interview, and the swing's good. Like there's a lot to like in the swing too. Let's go back. We can just look at the slow-mo of that. I like what I see here. It's pretty easy, not a big stride, and he just gets around on the ball pretty quickly. So Beck, what are your thoughts on Kyle Manzardo?
It's a simple operation. This view, I think, is priceless. It just shows you how he's direct to the ball. He doesn't have to do a lot to generate power either. That ball left the yard, and he wasn't swinging hard. He just put barrel on it. So that was really encouraging to me. I also found his interview really interesting because he was talking about how he's a low ball hitter. He actually talked about, his giving directions to the guy who was pitching to him for the Derby was, I want it low, middle. And he also talked a little bit about what playing with the automated balls and strike system was like, in that it kind of shrunk the zone for him. He didn't have to worry so much about the high fastball. So, we'll see what that implementation looks like moving forward. And, Matt brings up kind of the point that I'm making in the chat is that on the days when they're using ABS, Kyle said that he could completely rule out high velo up in the zone. Anything, kind of above the belt wasn't getting called a strike by the system. So he was able to completely eliminate it from his decision-making process. And we'll see how that plays out, kind of as he transitions to playing every day for Cleveland, hopefully on opening day. And then to Don's point, I think there's room on that roster to rotate, first base duties between him and Josh Naylor. I thought Manzardo looked good defensively, but it's never a bad idea to give him, the legs a break by DHing him.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting thing. Like Naylor's shown he can play some outfield. There's options here with Manzardo. So he can play first base, he can DH. Like Naylor can play the outfield, first base, or DH. And so I think there is certainly room for both of them to play regularly. And Matt asked about the big and up velo. So I'm kind of curious about that. I'm going to go check that real quick. I actually share because I have access to True Media for a couple of weeks to give me a free trial. I can't afford it, but I do have a free trial, and I'm going to share you his profile because I think it's pretty neat. So I'll screen share you over Manzardo's tab. We'll look at him. So yeah, you can certainly see like where the damage comes, like looking at his slug. Like, all right, so he certainly likes it in. And a lot of the damage is done in the lower half, which does make sense. And you look kind of on the inner and lower half quadrants, like he's certainly. I wish I could afford to keep this because it's like some stupid good stuff in here. But you can like filter by pretty much like everything and like look at it's so in depth. Like I don't even know like all the details, but look at the data's good. I mean, like. You look and you see he has a 90.4 average EV, a 104.2 90th. Like those are both up a lot from last year too, which is notable. So that is good to see. Like that max of 112 was a career high by far. Doesn't chase at all. The contact rate's really good. So like you're looking at a 79% contact. You're looking at a 86% in zone contact, which is great to see. But yeah, we can filter by, let's see, pitch type. make that fastballs. We'll just do all fastball types, sinker, four seam. And yeah, so you can see up, like, certainly the slug, not as good. But again, we're looking at like smaller samples. That's 14 at bats and 18 at bats. Heat map, again, he does much better like down. And so let's see. I think I can add a couple more charts. Yeah, here we go. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, this is still like as complex as playback seems. Like True Media is like insane. Like it's so in depth, like with everything. Oh, cool. Let's see. I can do. Okay, so let's see if I can change it to like whiff percentage or let's just do swing rate on this. Yeah, so he actually swings a lot at pitches up, and these are fastballs, by the way. So we're still filtered by fastballs only, and so certainly swinging a lot more up. And I would say that, like, that's probably what he needs to work on, like, more than anything. But let's see where the contact or the miss rate. All right. So yeah, it's not bad. I mean, like, if these, you see the miss rates down, like, those are really good. Like 4%, you get the middle, like, you're like 9 and 11%. And then the upper half's still good. Like, high and away is like 28.6%, but that's still like, I mean, if that's your, like, some dudes don't have contact rates like that. So, like, miss rate's basically the opposite of contact rate. So, like, his contact rate up on fastballs up and away was over 70%. And, like, that's above, like, league average. So, you know, ultimately, like, I'm not too worried about Kyle Manzardo, and I think he's going to be really good. We got a question: what does top end Kyle Manzardo look like from a stat standpoint? Any thoughts there, Beck?
Yeah, I mean, projecting minor leaguers is famously difficult, but I think he could run batting averages around 260, 270 with a 340, 350 OBP, and, you know, very, very top end looks like 30 home runs. I don't think that's what he gets to just because of his bat path. I think it'll be something like 20 to 25 annually, which is that I think that may be a little underwhelming for the first base position, but you're getting batting average and OBP with it. So it'll be interesting to see how the Guardians lineup kind of shakes out. They've not been fantastic offensively over the last couple of years, but they've got some pieces coming. So who knows where the runs and RBI will land, but, you know, you got to imagine he's hitting 2 or 3 in that lineup once he settles in.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that he's got 20 to 25 home run pop ultimately. And the contact rates are so good. Like, he could hit 275. It wouldn't surprise me. He's going to be a high EV guy as well. So I'm really interested in what Kyle Manzardo does. Look at the damage. Look at the damage here. This is exit velocity on fastballs. Look at the EVs on the pitches low in the zone and middle. That's really good. So, and I'll do one more. I wonder if they have Wobacon, which would be like the damage. I'm not sure if they do or not.
So
regular Woba.
He talked about his philosophy with exit velocities, and
it's interesting.
I found that really interesting. It was the same way that Corbin Carroll talks about his approach to hitting the ball hard, which sounds like a ridiculous sentence, but he said that he would rather rack up, you know, continuously hitting the ball 102, 104, 106 than try to put up, you know, the 112 max, because that gets him out of his approach, gets him, you know, working pull side and coming off of pitches on the outer third of the plate. And consistent hard contact was what he was going for. He doesn't necessarily want to light up the max EV. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. He has a really sound approach. I really liked what he had to say. Kind of like, just his approach seemed like really good. He likes analytics. Like, he's into that stuff, but he's not, like you said, he's not into high, like, he doesn't have to kill the ball every time, which I think is certainly something. He said he'd rather put up 105, 106s every time versus just smacking it, which Beck said. Let's do Colson Montgomery because he's interesting. We saw a lot of highs and a lot of lows from Colson this week. He obliterated this Ronan Kopp fastball, 97 in, lefty on lefty, and he just obliterated it. So this was following up a game which he swung and missed on 7 of 8 of his swings, I think. So it was a nice turnaround to see on Sunday from Colson. What were your thoughts on him? Because we did see polar opposites of him when we saw our looks throughout the week.
Yeah, the first game that I saw Colson, he had a walk off. It went in the book as a single, but he lined it over the center fielder's head. Would have been extra bases. There were stretches where he looked like the best player on the field, unquestionably. From a performance perspective, physically, he always looks like he's going to be the best player on the field. But there are also moments where it made me question whether he was healthy.
Yeah.
His Friday night, he was wearing a back brace. He was not wearing it for the Fall Stars game, which I guess is encouraging. But he was pulling his front hip on Friday and missing stuff out early or stuff out over the outer third. That was a little concerning, but it just looked like maybe there's some remnants of back stuff going on. The swing off of Ronan Kopp was one of the most impressive.
Yeah, swing's beautiful.
that I saw out there while I was there for 11 days or so. I caught 12, 13 games. And that was one of the most impressive swings that we saw. One thing that, and Chris, maybe you can tell me how much to care about this, is he kind of coils the bat behind his head. His hands don't really move, but it just makes the bat path a little bit longer. And I wonder if that's doing anything for him.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't paid too close of attention to that, but like we can go back and like see right. So let's see. Here you go. I see what you're talking about. Like there's no hand movement, but there's a little bat movement. It doesn't seem to bother the bat path at all. I mean, to get to that ball 97 in is impressive.
Yeah.
And so I don't see a lot of works. He makes so much contact that I think he's going to be okay. But I will say, I think the biggest concern with him is injuries, because he was playing with a back brace on Friday. Like that seems pretty concerning. And that was also the game that he, whiffed so much. And I've got a buddy that's a White Sox scout. He was out there early in the AFL, and we both shared like similar sentiments. I felt like all week prior to Fall Stars, Colson was trying to do too much. He was doing this. He was trying to aggressively pull everything out of the park, just out here to rack up numbers and put up big stats, which this is great when you do this, like, because this was beautiful swing, like beautiful contact, like really turning on this pitch. But when you're missing and when you're getting these breaking balls, you're whiffing it doesn't work. Colson Montgomery's at his best when he's squaring up the balls, he's putting on consistent contact, and he's hitting the ball up the middle. I think that's his biggest strength. He is a high contact bat. He's very athletic. And you look at his body, he's 6'4". I mean, I don't know the list weight exactly, but this is a body you want to dream on. Everybody will crap on him and say he's moving off short. I don't think he's moving off short. He's a very good athlete. Jeff Ponch shares my sentiment there about Colson being a shortstop. The dude was a 4-star basketball recruit. Like, just because he's big doesn't mean he can't play shortstop. And I think everybody just assumes that because he's bigger, okay, he's going to move off the position. I don't believe so. While he didn't I didn't see him make a ton of plays. Like, he didn't have to make a ton of plays at short, but like he didn't do anything to tell me he couldn't play shortstop. And he even said in the interview we did with him, he was like, we asked him what he was like, if he had any particular things he was out there working on. He said, just proving that I can play shortstop every day. Somebody go and look at the White Sox roster resource and tell me who else is going to play shortstop in this org. They don't have anybody. They have 0 shortstops. Tim Anderson's gone. They have nobody. Rami Gonzalez is not going to take a spot. Jacob Gonzalez is not playing shortstop. Colson Montgomery is their shortstop of the future. And that's what I've been told from people internally. Like, he's going to play shortstop, and I think he's going to be fine as short. So he's going to mash either way. But I'm pretty in on Montgomery. These swings are beautiful. I've got a lot more film I need to put up of him. By the way, if you're watching, click to subscribe on our YouTube channel. I'm probably going to have, by the end of the 2023, I'm probably going to have like 300 to 400 prospect videos up of my film all year. Beck and I have 40 to 50 hours of film from AFL, and that's a big work in progress. But I have a ton of stuff to put up from the regular season too, called 45 games regular season. So a lot of stuff that you can check out there. Beck, you wanted to see some Damiano, some cheese, more athletic than Corey Seager, Greg? Yes, I believe so. Seager doesn't move that well. Colson moves pretty well. If you go watch some basketball highlights on Colson, that's a lot of fun, actually, to go watch some basketball highlights on him. He does a lot of things well. Jason Seeley said, Basalo going to push top 10 prospect this year. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I think that he's more than capable of that. So, he's a really good bat, I'd bet on that. I don't have any Parmigiani on YouTube. Let me go pull it up real quick.
Sure.
You got anything you wanted to share on Basalo or anybody, Beck?
Yeah, I was. Basayo is my number 2 first base prospect. I think I have him at 23. I'm working through a top 100 with full scouting reports right now. I'm out to like 37 or so, and I have Basayo at 23. He is the number 2 first base prospect. I have him at first base just because I think that's his most likely outcome. I think it would be lovely if he could stay at shortstop. But he's behind org mate Kobe Mayo, who I also have at first base. I'm curious, Chris, where you have him presently.
Mayo like 9 or 10. I have Basayo like 21st, I think. So
Okay.
I think it's pretty fair advantage because he is, probably going to debut pretty soon. So, like I said, I don't have a ton cut up yet of Cheese, Damiano, Parmigiani, but this is Cheese right here. So if you didn't hear the backstory, apparently one of the announcers a couple weeks ago accidentally pronounced his last name Parmigiani. And so apparently when he did, the whole dugout just screamed like Cheese. And so we started this thing at the home run derby. We were out on the berm in the outfield, and we were just like screaming Cheese over and over. And one time it was kind of funny. So like I said, I don't have much cut up of him yet, but this is his swing. The dude does a lot well. I've been really big on him for a while now, not like super big. I think I came away like he was like kind of floating like top 250 on me since like mid-season. I think I'm probably a little bit higher on him than I was. He's very athletic, actually. The body didn't look like I thought it did on video, but he's kind of shorter, but he gets to his power. And so I'm curious, you saw a lot of him. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought he was really impressive. I thought he played a pretty good third base too.
Yeah.
And he had a ton of power. He showed it off in the Derby, but he was getting to really good batted balls in live games too. Even this swing, you can see he's a little bit beat out front, and he still puts good wood on it. So, seeing him adjust to a lot of the different arms that you're going to see out here. In a lot of these games, you have hitters playing all game, but they're going to see 3 or 4 different pitchers because starters are only going 3-4 innings at a time. So these guys are seeing a lot of different arms, and I thought Cheese's ability to see pitches and put good wood on them was impressive. I will be keeping an eye on the Toronto situation. I don't think that Damiano is the 1A option at third base. They have Aroldis Martinez. They have we'll see what happens with Matt Chapman, but he could find his way into some playing time. I wouldn't expect him to come up and put up the same kind of numbers that Davis Schneider did in his, short second half breakout. But he's a name to keep an eye on in really, really deep leagues. I would run out and roster him in any league that 200 prospects are rostered. I think he'll fall somewhere between 150 and 200 for me.
Yeah, I mean, and Chapman, I would bet on Chapman leaving. I think he's going to get a deal too rich for the Jays. Somebody's going to overpay for him, and I don't think it's going to be the Blue Jays. I could be totally wrong on that, but we'll see what happens there. And like you said, Greg said he's the best internal option. I agree too. I don't think they have anybody else that can step in and play third base. So I'm really interested in what he can do. I want to talk a pitcher because I think you probably know where I'm going. I think we both said he's probably the most impressive arm that we saw. And TK Roby didn't have the most, he had an up and down, I would say, AFL overall. He started out really hot, and then he kind of struggled in the middle, and then he really took off. He was really good down the stretch. He was stellar in Fall Stars. Again, Fall Stars was just an inning, but yeah, you saw him get to louder there on a pretty ugly swing. He showcased a lot of stuff. I mean, 97, located it up. He threw the curve. The curve was nasty. I mean, the curve has about 63 inches of vertical break on it. So really good stuff there. He also throws a changeup and a slider. We didn't see it in the one inning that he worked, because he worked really quick. He threw like 9 pitches in his inning at Fall Stars, and that was unfortunately the only time that we got to see him. But you saw the curve there against DeLauder, making him chase, and then there's fastball to Manzardo, and you're going to see the curveball here to Manzardo to get that check swing. Really nasty stuff. Beck, what did you see?
I tweeted this immediately after the inning ended, but he'll be a top 100 arm for me. It helps that the pitching, crop right now isn't, maybe as good as we've seen in years past, but he has a starter's frame. His mechanics are really great. They look really repeatable, even with the leg kick. He was the only starter that I saw out there, sans Royber Salinas, who was touching 97, and he's got way more command than Salinas does. And then I thought he sequenced really well. You're going to see it against DeLauder here. He's going to give him 2 fastballs and then kind of backdoor with the breaking ball. And that's a tough swing to get out of Chase DeLauder. So I'm really in on Roby. The pitching situation in St. Louis is not fantastic. So I think we could see him relatively soon. And he has all the makings of a starter, just a little bit inconsistent during his AFL stint.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing will be consistency. I still believe that he is the best prospect, or the best pitching prospect moved at the deadline last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Cardinals are going to be really happy with what they have here. I think they've got a starter. He's got a true 4-pitch mix. If the command comes along, he throws more consistent strikes, I think he's going to be really good. But Roby, just from a pure Arsenal standpoint, like we didn't even see 2 of his pitches, but the fastball firmly plus curveball, maybe a 70. Like you can watch and just see the nastiness of the 12-6 shape. That's so beautiful. And then, the tilt on the Manzardo curveball you're going to see on this next pitch is not quite as a 12-6, but still got that shape, really downward action. You want to see that all day long. So Roby's somebody that I'm heavily investing in this offseason. I don't think the hype's caught up yet. And I think that we could see him in St. Louis pretty soon, maybe as early as like June. I wouldn't be shocked. And he can make a pretty instant impact. The Cardinals have a lot of work to do. Depends on what they do in the offseason as far as who they bring in. I know they've said they want to bring in some guys, but who knows? They've kind of failed on that in the past. So Roby's certainly a pitcher of interest for me. I really, honestly, we can talk about his teammate as well while we're here. We saw Cooper Jerpy as well. Got a couple close-up shots there of his mechanics because they are just absolutely funky. Like, it's so bizarre. Like, it looks Chris Sale-esque.
Mm-hmm.
And it creates such a funky arm slot. Jace Young didn't know what to do. I mean, look at that thing. That's nasty. And Jerpy set 89 with the fastball. But I think that in this case, the velocity doesn't worry me as much because of the deception, because of the release point, and the extension. So you can kind of see it. Watch the mechanics here slow-mo. Good luck picking up on what pitch he's throwing. And as somebody, there were some guys on Twitter that were like, they were like overlaying the breaking ball and the fastball thing. It doesn't tunnel. Like, tunneling is fine. Like, tunneling's good, but tunneling's not everything. And I think that people get like way too into it. So they're just trying to pick apart. Jerpy had terrible AFL. Like, that's worth putting out there. He sucked most of the AFL. He only got 2 batters. He got Muncy and he got Jace Young before he got pulled. They were trying to get every pitcher in. This was like the 7th inning at this point in the Fall Stars. So he got 2 batters. You see most of the pitches. He got some whiffs. 89-mile-an-hour fastball. The sweepers like in the 70s, and the changeups around like 80. But it's a pretty decent arsenal for considering everything. What are your thoughts?
I thought hitters were reacting to that 89-mile-an-hour fastball like it was 95.
It plays up. Watch, you saw Young get that pitch up, and it certainly looks like it plays a lot faster than 89.
Yeah, and Muncy, even right on left, looked a little bit confused about what was coming and what to do with it.
Yeah.
Which was, to be fair, not uncommon for Max Muncy while I was out there. He looked confused a good part of the time, but the way you see Jace Young reacting there on, a ball that looks like it's going to hit him. I think I like Cooper Jerpy. He was my favorite pitcher in FYPDs last year that, wasn't going super high. I worry a little bit about the injury and then having, kind of a bad AFL, and all of his appearances came in relief, and were very short. I think this is the kind of guy that could play in a bullpen just based on the deception and the release point. So we'll see kind of where that future is. He's a little bit smaller, as you can see on video. I think he's listed like 5'11", 175, something to that effect. And the 175 might be generous. So, I really liked what I saw, albeit, two batters, and I like what's on the screen right now. I think there are some questions about where he plays in the future. I don't think the question should be about his arsenal.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Do I have IVB numbers on Roby? He's like 19 to 20, depending on, it's like 18 to 20 most times. So yeah, it's really good stuff. Definitely what you want to see. This is a fun one, Beck. Josh H said, sound like Barry looked better defensively in the AFL. So it became a running joke while we were out there, actually, because Beck was out there for 11 days. So Beck was out there before myself and some of the others were out there. And he had just mentioned about Jacob Berry looking decent at third base. And we just kind of ran with it. Like, he would make a play and we would just he would make a good play and we'd make a joke. And everybody kind of was like looking at you, and Arm was like, yeah, it was good for Jacob Berry. But yeah, I thought he was good at third base. I won't lie to you. He looked better than I anticipated at third base. So yeah, he didn't look good with the bat at all, but he was pretty decent in the field. So
yeah, which is the total opposite of what we expected, coming out of the draft. We expected him to be a below average defender. He probably still is a below average defender just based on range.
Yeah.
My comment was maybe more aimed at him not being a 30 defender at third base. I thought he could be a 45, potentially a 50 if he, gets more lateral movement. But yeah, looked lost with the bat, which is something that we didn't necessarily expect to the degree that it was an unpopular pick at 6 overall, but struggling to this degree with how good he was in college. It's like the Kevin Parada thing. It's just one of those bats where I don't really understand how it fails to translate to the degree that it has.
Yeah, it's wild to see how just the translation has been weird. But yeah, Barry's his data was poor in college, good contact, not much power. Yeah. That's what we've seen. Now we've seen no contact, no power. Yeah. This dude, though, is impressive. Brian Ramos, the film does not do justice when you're looking at him. Like, this video doesn't do the justice of his size. But, man, this is a big guy. He's 6'3", 205, and he has got some serious room to fill out to already massive power. The dude straight obliterated this baseball, like, to the moon off Mitch Brott. Look at that bat speed, the swing. The next night, we were at a different park. He had a walk-off grand slam. He absolutely tanked it. And I know I've got an open face of him somewhere. For some reason it's not on the I think I was just trying to get this up quick on YouTube, but I need to find the open face swing because, oh man, actually Beck would have it. I'll go to the Google Drive and look. Beck had the open face look over here that night. But Brian Ramos played a good third base. I think some people assume he's going to move off because Colson's moving to third. I think, and Colson talked about in the interview, like he was talking about what a dude that Brian Ramos was, and I firmly believe that swing's beautiful. He gets easy power. Man, that ball was a laser. Like, you can't tell because it was a stationary camera, but that ball came off the bat hot and probably with like a 13-degree launch angle, maybe a little higher actually looking at it, but it was a line drive. Like, it was a laser. It was awesome. You saw a lot of Ramos this week. What were your thoughts?
I was really bummed that we missed the walk off. That would have been that would have been a highlight. Yeah, I saw a video. He milked that for all it was worth. I was impressed with Brian Ramos. He hit the ball really hard. He played a great third base. I think there was maybe some talk of him playing outfield, depending on what happens with Colson. I think we agree that Colson can play shortstop. But if he is bumped to third, I think Ramos could probably fit in a corner in the outfield. But I came away impressed. I think that you got it exactly right. He looks better in person physically than he does on video. This doesn't necessarily do it justice. This actually makes it look like maybe he's shorter than the home plate umpire, which was not the case in person. And this ball got out quick. He just, he smokes baseballs.
Yeah, he does. I'm trying to find that open. I'm on the Google Drive. I want to find that open face swing because it was absolute beauty.
I think this is surprise, and I
It
think
is
that was a
surprise.
game where I set up the camera for the entire game, so it's gonna be one of the bigger files in there.
All right, no, that's fine. Yeah, we can come back to it later. I don't want to sit here and hold everybody up. Let's see who else I've got on the YouTube, and we can hop on some others. Oh, Damon Keith had a monster shot. Damon Keith's numbers look terrible, but this shot was smoked. It was the
Mhm.
longest home run I've ever seen, and not ever seen. I saw Blaze Jordan hit one even further, but Damon Keith is a dude. It feels like a guy the Dodgers going to pick out in the air like they always do with outfielders, and he just takes off. Like, it's not a crazy swing. Like, it's got some moving parts, but not bad. But he's got big power. His ninth percentile exit velocity this year was 109, which is absurdly high. And the numbers, if you go look at his stat line, it's not good. The stat line wasn't great in the AFL, which is weird. I really like it, and I love the power. And we saw a lot of Keith. We saw some inconsistencies with Keith, but that film was just worth showing, in my opinion.
That was the best clip I think I got while I was out there. That was the longest home run I've ever seen at the AFL. I've been going for 3 years now. I always go for about 10 or 11 days. So we're talking about, 40 games of live attendance, and that was the biggest home run I've ever seen at the AFL. And it sounded like it too. I mean, it was an absolute rocket. I think the other, the piece that we saw is he will expand the zone. He does have some whiff. He's going to get his A swing off, whether he's ready for that pitch or not. But man, he looked like an athlete. He's one of those Dodgers projects where if it works out with the contact rates, he's got huge power, and watch out. He
Yeah.
also, this is not relevant to his performance, but he all week was rocking the jersey with no undershirt, about 3 or 4 buttons gone, big
Yeah.
necklace. So he had the swag out there.
Yeah, he wasn't showing as much chest here. There he goes. You can see a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had like 3 buttons unbuttoned. So, yeah, Damon Keith was fun. Talked to his agent a little bit after this, actually, and his agent wanted some film on him, so I was able to send that over, which was cool. The guy I want to talk about in the Dodgers org is Ben Kasparius, man. Oops, I went to the very end of that video. The numbers don't show it, but he was nasty. He went 3 innings here in surprise and showcased some really good stuff. He's got a big fastball up. He made Eric Brown Jr. look really foolish there with that one-handed swing and follow through, and then made him chase that sweeper. I'll get my notebook and see the exact numbers, but it was pretty impressive overall. You were there that night. What'd you see from Kasparius that you liked?
Yeah, I mean, he looked really good over that 3 inning sample. The thing that I thought was really impressive is he's got a nice fastball, and he's not afraid of throwing the fastball, but he was pitching from behind a lot, meaning he was going to his secondary stuff often. I almost wonder if that's something that the Dodgers told him, like, you're just out there to throw your best slider as many times as you can in these short samples. But he looks way better than the numbers would suggest, both from the regular season and the AFL. And he kind of tore through this lineup very efficiently. He was one of the more impressive pitchers that I saw out there, just behind TK Roby.
Yeah, again, the numbers don't look good. So there's obviously flaws here. He's a smaller guy. There might be some bullpen risk, but again, the Dodgers' development is insane. So it's possible that they just find something in this guy and he really takes off. I had the fastball 93 to 96. The slider was anywhere from 82 to 85. And he dropped the curveball in a couple times, and even down as far as low as 73, 73 up to 77. So that was pretty crazy to see. But that arsenal was impressive, and no one's going to come away like looking at the numbers and be like, "Oh, Ben Kasparius is awesome." But he really was one of the more impressive pitchers that I saw all week up there with Roby. And knowing the org that he's in, I don't know. I just kind of want to bet on the Dodgers doing something. He's a deep league prospect right now, but he may be one I'm a little more aggressive on just after sitting here watching this start. He was in relief, but he threw 3 innings and just really impressive stuff overall. So I loved what I saw out of him. So Kasparius, certainly something to keep an eye on at least. Anybody have any questions? Anybody they want to see? If you have anybody you want us to see, we should have about everybody. That's about all I've got on YouTube, but I've got a ton over here. I'll pull up. Beck, did you have anybody else you want to talk about? I've got a couple guys that we can pull up, but AJ Vuk, we have not done Vuk yet. So, yeah, I can
Yeah,
pull that up. Vuk was
can do
pretty
Vuk.
impressive, actually. Yeah, I've got some Carson Williams stuff too, so we can I don't have a ton of Carson Williams because the highlights honestly weren't that great on him. He didn't do a lot. Carson's a cool dude. I had a fun time talking to Carson. Marcy, I do have some Marcy, actually. That I cut that one up before because I knew that was one that was certainly – and unfortunately, he had that triple or double in Fall Stars, and my camera behind the plate, it was acting like the memory card said it was full, but it wasn't. So I got the first pitch of that at bat, and then I changed it out. But I've got the open face of Marcy I can pull up real quick, and we can look at him. All right, so I will say this. Marcy is thick. Marcy is very, very thick, and he's filled out. So this video is not going to really do it justice, I don't think. But you can see he's got a thick neck. Like I said, look at his calves and his thighs. I mean, those are pretty thick trunks right there. Like you just want to kind of look at that. Obviously, the pants are tight, so it's going to help a little bit. But Marcy was one of the more filled out players that I saw up close and personal. I think he's like 6'1", 205, and you can't really tell from here, but he's got he's got like the Mike Trout neck, I would call it. Like he's very thick, just all the way across. So Marcy did a lot of damage. There's the swing. It's quick, pretty simple operation. You'll see, the hands start low. He does lift those. There's a little bit of movement there, but the bat path's good. Like it's an easy, he easily gets back on plane. So Marcy did a lot of, honestly, Marcy didn't do a ton in the looks, in the live looks until Fall Stars. And this was, I think he had 2 at bats. This was early. I think this was his first at bat. He had like a double. I think it was a double, and he tried to extend it to a triple and got thrown out, if I'm not mistaken. He thought it was out. You see him kind of jogging. He hit it really solid, oppo field. But yeah, Marcy is a fun player. I'm personally not in on Marcy any more than I was before I saw him in person, just knowing that what the exit velocities are. And honestly, it makes it a little worse now that I've seen the body. I'm like, okay, like he's completely maxed out. Like there's nothing left in this tank. And the dude ran at 83 mile an hour average EV. His EVs in the AFL were not good either. And his 9th percentile was sub 100. I think Marcy has some fantasy appeal, but I think Marcy's the best sell high that there is right now in fantasy. But your thoughts there, Beck, on Jacob Marcy?
I'm inclined to agree, especially after seeing the body. Like this isn't a case where he's really stringy, is going to put on weight and potentially, up those impact numbers. What I came away with was, well, one, he was in the running for tightest pants at the AFL. I think Eric Brown Jr. probably gave him a run for his money, but those two are pretty neck and neck. But also I found the barrel control really impressive. He was spraying hits kind of all over the field and on a line. So he's doing a lot to maximize his batted balls, even if they aren't coming off the bat scorching hot. I saw him double down both lines in the same game, yanking one down the right field line, pushing one down the left field line. This one in the AFL was over the right fielder's head. I think it bounced off the wall. We'll have to
I think that's right.
Check the game feed, but he got a lot of it. He thought it was out. So, I think like what you see is what you get. For me, he would be a sell as well, especially like I'm starting to see guys put Marcy around like their top 50, and he's going to be outside my top 100 just simply based on the impact numbers. That said, he could be an interesting piece for fantasy eventually, especially as we, kind of see the Padres navigate that bridge loan and try to bring, their payroll down.
I mean, he could play center field for him on opening day. It's highly possible. Yeah. Watch this stride, though. This stride's weird. I didn't realize this until just now, but look at where his feet are. Watch how much his front foot flares out. Mm-hmm. That's a big stride.
Who does that remind me of?
Gosh. That's a lot of movement. And I don't want to just crap on Marcy. I think Marcy does a lot of things well. And you mentioned the barrel control. You can see it here. Watch him get back on plane. Obviously, these camcorders on the side aren't going to give as clear of a shot, but he gets the bat back through pretty well. He's got bat speed. Like you saw the bat speed there, it's there. But I don't know until I see the EVs improve, which they can, because Triantos, even though Triantos is younger and smaller, Triantos we saw the EVs improve significantly in 2023. But Triantos is also 20 and he's a stick versus Marcy's going to be 23 and he's a thick boy. Like Marcy's very thick. So I like Marcy. I think the Marcy hype is just too much at this point, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I'm not crazy in on Marcy, but it was fun to watch. At least it was good to see in person and just give me a feel on the body and be like, holy crap, this dude is freaking jacked. Like he's big. I do want to pull up Tyler Locklear because his swing's really interesting.
Oh yeah, this will be a good one. Because it was, and maybe I'll wait until the video's up. But it was something he picked up kind of after that wrist injury. He came in, played in Arkansas, and then this was my first time seeing this live. But just watch his hands.
I know Greg saw him live in Arkansas several times, but watch this. This is crazy. It's like Gary Sheffield. This is against DJ Hers. Like it's kind of bizarre to me to kind of watch this swing. I'll pull up the open face in just a second, but you see like his hands are so far out. You can see it good on the open face shot, but like that bat just flailing around. The timing has to be so perfect here, which has me a bit concerned because watch the load as Hers comes in. I mean, you have to get the hands back to a perfect spot so quick and watch him have to drop. Like he has to drop the hands. So the hands are all over the place. You go from like a head height, shoulder height, down to chest height, back up, back down. I don't know. That it gives me a little bit of pause, I'll say. And so it's something to keep an eye on with him. He still performed despite that. But, man, I'd be lying if I said the swing didn't give me at least a little bit of pause. Locklear challenges for the tightest pants, too. Yeah, for sure. He definitely does. I'm going to pull up the open face shot right now. Let's see. Because it gives you a decent idea. Again, camcorder shot. It is what it is, but there's a lot of moving parts. The bat's quick, but he has to be exceptional with timing to get back. I don't like this at all. I want to ding him a bit. Performance was fine, but I kind of want to ding him just based on the fact that I think he could struggle against more advanced pitching personally. I mean, you talk about DJ Hurst is a good pitcher, but DJ Hurst it's 91 and 93.
Yeah.
So it's not like you were talking about big time heat.
This is so I would be curious to see second half how he did against velocity, specifically up with his hands moving so much.
Yeah.
Because I think that, guys who can consistently sit in the top third of the zone with 95 plus might give him fits as he moves up.
Yeah, it's highly possible. And so that's wild stuff. I like Locklear. I think Locklear's a top 100 guy. Maybe I was too high on him, having him like the 60-ish range. So that's possible as well. Let me find some Vuk footage. If you want anybody else, holler at me, put it in the chat. You can let me know. It's going to take me a second to find Vuk. Sure. So I'm going to pull up a Eric Brown Jr. shot because, he was phenomenal too. We saw a lot of good things from, Eric Brown Jr. And so I've got his up right now. We can watch this beauty. Eric Brown Jr., he's got a kind of a weird swing too, but watch him go. Logan Workman's a good pitcher. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like Logan Workman. He goes down and gets this pitch, and it's good stuff.
It's it's kind of a balancing act that when you see the whole thing together, like how heavy he is on that back foot with his hands in front of his head. It's bizarre. The Brewers have actually toned it down a little bit with the hands, and he said he was out here working on his lower half, which is interesting because I can see with all that weight, on his back leg, how the weight transfer could be something that just takes refinement over time. But he smoked this ball. This ball was out in the blink of an eye, landed in the left field bullpen, and he admires it. There wasn't a lot of time to admire because it was just gone.
Yeah, it went out pretty quick. It was. He did it previously too when we were in Surprise that night, where it got out in a hurry, like these line drives. He's a smaller guy. Like I will say, I mean, he's like 5. You can see the interview. I'm like 5'8.5". I'll give myself 5'9". He's not much bigger than me. But the dude has some power. He has some really good. It's weird because his power took a step back in pro ball, and I wonder if it was one of those weird juiced bat situations in college because he was like absurdly good, like power numbers, like 108 mile an hour, 9th percentile in college, and it was like 100 this year. But he did get some. He has good contact. The ball got out in a hurry. I've got some Vuk shots. This was this one of Beck's videos that he got. We don't have an open face one, unfortunately, for Vuk. We both had cameras, by the way. Here's a full at bat from Vuk. This was against, who was this against? Oh, Caleb Roberts. It was hard to get a shot of Vuk because where we were sitting, Caleb Roberts loved hogging like way out of the batter circle. And so Vuk impressed me in a lot of ways. He's big. He's very physical. He's quick. He has an incredible arm too. And he was playing center field this night over in Scottsdale. I liked what I saw. I don't know if you want to expand on Vuk at all, but Vuk was one of those that's like, okay, he passes the eye test by a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So watching Vuk, I kept wanting him to do something awesome just because he looks like the kind of athlete that can. He struck me as a player where he's like one or two small changes away from just going nuclear. He was one of the most physically impressive players out there. I thought he played a really good center field too. So I know you got the one look at him. I got a couple of games of him in center field, and he looked totally passable out there with a big arm. It just hasn't all come together, and I haven't really diagnosed why that's the case because he looks like he should be a dynamite ball player, and I want him to succeed because he's a Wisconsin, prep kid.
Yeah. I mean, you can see the swing here. We probably have a couple more I can look and see, but this is one where it may have been a line out. I don't remember exactly, but he had a couple hard hit balls, and he had a couple hits. That may have been a fly out to left center, if I'm not mistaken, but overall, like I really liked AJ Vukovic a lot, and he's somebody that I kind of want to at least take some shots on in deeper leagues because, oh man, I think he's pretty special, as well as like Gabriel Rincones Jr. He's a physical beast. Like I didn't realize how good Rincones was. Let's see if this is him. I've got some open face of him too. I can pull up. No, this is not him. Who is that? Cardinals. I don't even know who that is. But anyway, Rincones is like 6'2". He's really athletic build. He's got pop. He's hyper aggressive on the base pass. And man, he does a lot of things just really, really well. And he makes high contact too. The crazy thing is, he had a 107 mile an hour, 9th percentile EV last year. And I was like, holy crap. Like this dude just might be legit. And so I came in the AFL and I was like, I watched him. I'm like, yeah, this dude's something here. So I'm pretty in on Gabriel Rincones Jr. So we had a couple more requests. We had Hendry Mendez. I've got him somewhere. He only played one game that I saw. I honestly, I'll have to pull. It's on my SD card. I don't think I pulled any of his stuff because he sucked. Honestly, I have to pull it up. We can do another session where we can pull some of these lesser guys. But Teodo's fun. I've got some Teodo stuff too that we can share. I love Teodo. I'll actually show you his stuff from earlier in the year when I saw him. I saw him 3 times this year prior to the AFL. Teodo's really nasty. And I thought that coming in, Teodo had some of the best stuff that, of anybody, any pitcher. And I still believe that. He was very wild in Fall Stars, but that's just kind of who he is, I guess. Like he's going to be sporadic, or I guess erratic is the word I'm looking for there. But Teodo's got some really good stuff. I'll pull up some highlights from, this was probably May. So I'll show you these and I'll pull up his Fall Stars one too. Teodo's fastball gets up to 102. His changeup's at 104 and the sliders in like high 80s. So here's what I had from him he was in Greenville several times, as Tyler said. Tyler's also a Greenville native, which is cool. I'm glad I connected with Tyler. He's a student at Auburn. He just wrote an article for us to check out some deep FYPD sleepers. But yeah, Tyler's in the Greenville area. He's seen Teodo. But yeah, here's his stuff when he was in Greenville in May. And he made some hitters look pretty foolish. And I will also pull his performance from Fall Stars as well. So yeah, you have any thoughts on Teodo? Because he was all over the place, honestly.
We got the full experience of Teodo. There were moments where he looked unhittable, and then other moments where he looked uncatchable, for lack of a better term. Ball was at the backstop. So, I came away from it from his entire fall league, not just the fall stars, thinking that he's like ready to be in the back of a bullpen. Would not be surprised to see him there next year. The slider is ridiculous. I mean, when you contrast that, 100, 102 mile an hour fastball with the slider, hitters just don't know what to do. It's one of those things where you just can't react fast enough to be on time for the fastball and then also put a good swing on an upper 80s, low 90s slider.
Yeah. And his changeup, there was a changeup right there, I'm pretty sure. It's nasty. Watch this thing. If I'm not mistaken, I just caught a glimpse of it, so I was clicking over.
So
yeah, I mean, 94 on a changeup, good luck.
Teodo pitched 11 innings in the fall. He did not allow an earned run. He struck out 15 and a half per 9 innings. That was 19 strikeouts in 11 innings. He struck out 19 of the 39 batters he faced. So nearly 50%.
Yeah, which is absurd. I've got a better shot I'm going to pull up of Teodo. It's a much closer view. This was a view I got when they were down here later, when they were in Greenville later in the year. Let me mute that. It's really loud, actually. So, here's the better look of Teodo, his mechanics. He's very, very erratic and vicious. But he pitches a starter all year. But I mean, like, he could be the closer for the Rangers. That slider's nasty. Look at that.
Yeah.
And this is like upper 80 slider. Hold on. That's the fastball's got some nice tail on it. Here's the slider. Yeah, I mean, that's like 88, 89. And then when you get the changeup hit 94. Oh, man. Like, literally the first time I was sitting with some scouts, and the first time we saw the changeup, it was like, it registered 94. We were like, holy crap, that was a changeup. Like, how did that happen? Few pitchers can do that. But yeah, I looked. I haven't cut up Teodo's Fall Stars film yet. Here's some open face look at him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, the Fall Stars film is not any better than this. This is the same stuff. And Teodo was so wild in Fall Stars that this gives you kind of the look of it, and I'll cut it up and post later. So sub to the YouTube, a little plug there. Yeah, you can see the amount of effort in the delivery, the amount of power. Yeah, I mean, that's what you get when you throw 102 miles an hour, I guess. So
Yeah, I think it's got to be the effort. And then there's a bit of a head thwack at the end of his release where I'm sure he doesn't see where the ball's going, while it's in its path.
Yeah.
So that I'm certain that's what contributes to the wildness is the effort and the head movement. Otherwise, like, it's not a complex operation to get 100 miles an hour out of his hand. So it's repeatable. We'll see what they're able to do, with his command. But like you said, could be the Rangers closer pretty soon.
I think so. Jason, I'm trying to find some Carson Williams stuff. Honestly, like, I don't have a ton because of he didn't do a whole lot. I've got some on my Twitter, actually, from early in the year when Bowling Green was in town. I've got some BP swings. Well, he almost took out my camera. But I like the swing overall. It's pretty simple. He just chases a lot of sliders, ultimately. Yeah. And I think that could be his downfall. He talked about that. I mean, like, he openly told us that that was something he needed to work on, was the stuff with the sliders. But the dude's got electric power. He's a great athlete. He does a lot of things extremely well. But I'll pull up his BP video just so you can kind of see the open face, because I got on the net for that. We technically weren't supposed to be on the net. It was like reserved for MLB.com people, because they're much better than us. But a couple times we snuck up and got some good swings on some people. And Carson Williams is one. Just from talking to him, I wanted to get some swings on him. And so that I did with Carson. So here's it's just, he almost hit my camera, so I had to like move off real quick. But honestly, it's pretty simple. Like, there's not a lot to it, and he gets to easy power. I wish I didn't move my camera, but again, he almost hit it. So I was like, crap. And I moved it real quick. And he seems like he's got his head on straight and he knows what he's trying to do. Like, if you should go check out his interview he did with Welsh and Frank Stanfield. I recorded that for him. But he's got his head on, like, he's here to like just do his thing and get better. Like, he seems like the kind of kid that you would just bet on getting better on the sliders. And now that he's got some off season to work, like, he's probably going to address these things. Like, the Rays find the way to get the best out of their players. I think this is their shortstop of the future. And so Williams has the frame. I mean, you look at it, he can probably add 10 to 15 pounds of muscle still. So I'm pretty intrigued by Carson Williams, and I think that there's more here. I don't Beck, you saw him. I mean, the field he was great, but we saw a variety of stuff that with the bat.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like a 7 defender, and I came away from it thinking he is far from a finished product. He was one of the youngest players out there, and you can see just from this video, he's a little lanky, and could put on some weight. I'll also say I can probably count on one hand. I caught 3 or 4 games of Carson Williams. I can count on one hand how many fastballs he saw.
Yeah.
They were just feeding him breaking stuff, which is honestly probably for the best. To be able to work through those things in a low stress environment against live pitching. But yeah, I hope that he spends the offseason trying to figure out, how do I at least contend with sliders? And again, he's 20, so this was not a thing where I came away concerned. He didn't do a lot with the bat, but he looked like a stellar athlete and was an incredible defender while we were out there.
Yeah, I think that you're always going to be he's always going to be a field first, like glove first type shortstop. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I do think the bat is capable of being 2020. It's just where's the average land? I'll be blunt. I was too high on him, and I'll correct that. I think he's a top 50 prospect. I don't think he's a top 20 prospect. And so, in retrospect, I saw him, the power speed was good this year. I really liked what I saw. But at the end of the day, I still think there's some things that he needs to work on. We got to ask about Liam Hicks. Hicks walked in both plate appearances in Fall Stars. I was looking back at the other games we saw. I know we saw him at least once, Beck. Was that correct? You may have saw him more than once.
Yeah, I only have recollection of seeing him. I think it was that Friday night game in Peoria.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to pull up my AFL notebook.
There you go.
See if
yes,
I've got anything in there.
He had 2 hits Friday in Surprise. We weren't in Surprise on Friday. That was one of the games we weren't at. We were in Glendale Friday night, and we were in Peoria Friday during the day. The schedule sucked this year. I'll just be honest with you guys. That was my biggest frustration. Used to could do 3 games a day. They would do a 12:30, 3:30, 6:30 game. This year they did 2:30 and 6:30 slots, and some days you got all you had was 6:30 games. You just had to pick and choose, which was not fun. Oh, guess the other game at Surprise, Hicks walked all 3 times he got to the plate. So I don't have any good swings on him, but he was fun. I talked to him a little bit during batting practice for Fall Stars, and he was. I thought his AFL performance was obviously highly, highly impressive. So I hated getting any good shots of him, but that was just kind of the nature of, what it was. He probably did something. He did something both times. We didn't see them. I don't know if you caught him early in the week and had anything on him.
No, I didn't. What I'll say about Hicks was it was great to see him performing. He came into the AFL as an OBP extraordinaire. I think he had an over 400 OBP in the regular season. We saw that, kind of carry through. The offensive numbers were better. I don't know how much there is there, honestly. The plate discipline is pretty apparent, but we didn't really see him do much that let us get a good feel for who he's going to be or what the projection that's left might look like.
That's fair. Zach Maxwell's somebody that I really liked. Big reliever with the Cincinnati Reds, and I'll pull up his stuff. I liked what I saw from Maxwell. I'm not sure if I've cut up all of his film yet, but the he's a big boy. He pumps some heat, has a good little slider too. So he might be in the Reds bullpen sooner than later. He was one of the better relievers I think I saw out there all week. Let me see. I'm pretty sure I cut up some of his stuff and posted it. Yeah, here we go.
He had one of the better fastball slider combos we saw out there. There were a few guys that kind of caught my eye coming on in relief, and I think his fastball was touching 98 that night that we caught him. Yeah. And the slider looked nice and sharp too. Yeah, here you go.
He's a big boy.
He's a big boy. This is a personal thing, but I love it when you see a reliever come out of the bullpen and they're just huge. That's the build I want.
Yeah. He got hit around a little bit, but you saw him. He made Colson Montgomery miss there. There were some inconsistencies, but overall, I thought he showed some pretty good stuff. He could pitch in the Reds bullpen next year. Wouldn't surprise me at all. He was He pitched in the same game as Casparis. He was up to 100 on the fastball in that game. He was
There you go.
97 to 100. The slider was 86 consistently. Like he had like 85s, 86s across the board. So pretty big stuff there. Beck, anybody that you wanted to hit on that I have not hit on yet?
I think we touched on Eric Brown Jr. a little bit. I don't think there are going to be a ton of offensive highlights from Jack Brannigan, although he did hit kind of a towering opposite field home run in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've got that cut up.
I do. I don't have it cut yet. I do have the Jace Bowen one that we need to watch because his smile, dude, when he hit that ball and coming off, like he had this inside, like little league home run, basically. Like, dude had like the biggest smile on his face ever. It was really great. I got to find that. While I'm finding that, there was a couple to show. Sterling Thompson is one we haven't talked about yet. You got a good shot of him going oppo and get a triple on that. I don't remember.
Yeah, there was,
least, but you had a good shot at this to the opposite field. This game had 2 collective hits by Peoria. It was a weird game. Peoria's lineup stacked, and so you see some swing there. I may have an open face too, but these were like the only 2 runs of this game. It was kind of bizarre. Sterling was good. I don't know what you thought about him.
Sterling was good. He didn't impact the ball the way that I expected. He just kind of sprayed line drives all over the place. This was a ball that I think if the outfield wasn't shifted so much, it's probably a fly out to the left fielder.
Yeah.
But I saw him play both outfield and second base, and he looked capable at both of them.
Yeah.
I think seeing him live really just affirmed for me that my read on him was right. He's going to make a ton of contact. He's probably going to play up in Colorado. That was a good landing spot for him, despite their, development issues. So yeah, I mean, it affirmed for me that he was who he was. I think he's around 75-ish is probably where he'll land for me. He's just a good player all around. Nothing jumped out like off the page or, that I felt like I really needed to jot down as a revelation about him. But I liked what I saw from him. I saw him a lot too. I think I saw him like 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, we'd be remiss if we didn't play some Chase DeLauder highlights. Obviously, just really, really good across the board, and you shouldn't expect anything less from DeLauder. I mean, he was awesome. This was a double. Another double as well. You can see the open face in just a second, but he's built, dude. He's massive. But yeah, I mean, people want to talk about the swing. The bat path's so good here. Like, I'm just gonna slow it. I know there's a lot of netting here, but the bat path is elite. Like, look at the lag here. Look where the bat is. Hard to tell, but the bat lags so far, and that's what creates power in the short swing. Like, it's so much power in the wrist and the lower body. Like, the bat lag is beautiful there and just jumps off the bat. I don't care if his swing stops there. I really don't.
You can see all that weight transferring to the front foot. Like, look at how stiff and straight his front leg is when he comes planted.
Yep.
And it's just all of that power is transferring through the wrists and the barrel, and it's coming through the hips. I don't, like you just said, I don't care where the bat ends. I care more about where it is at contact. And there was nothing that I saw while I was out there that gave me any concern about his ability to put barrel on ball and hit it hard, even if he is kind of abbreviating the finish.
Power does not come from the finish. Power comes from the swing, and he got plenty of power from the swing. So, I'm weighing on Chase DeLauder. Not top 10, but I think he's a top 20 prospect. There's a lot of talent for sure. So, who you had asked me about somebody? Who'd you ask me about?
I mentioned Brannigan a few times.
Yeah, I don't know if I have. I did like Jack Perkins a lot. I will say, like, I want to share some Jack Perkins stuff. Reliever with the A's. Pretty into him. He's got some pretty big stuff. I liked what I saw out of him. Made me kind of believe he could be a sneaky guy in the back end of the A's bullpen because they don't have anybody. And the A's suck. There's a little Caleb Durbin back there. But yeah, Perkins he was a fun one to watch. He's got some pretty good stuff overall.
Was it Durbin who we saw? I think he took home on a pass ball or some little league play, and it was a pretty scary slide. He came in head first, and the catcher kind of led with his knee pads.
Yes. I don't know how there was not anything worse there. Like, It was pretty bad. I'll show you a Durbin swing while we're here.
Durbin was fun. He played, with the throttle wide open. He was
Mhm.
really fun to watch, and he was looking to make something happen every plate appearance. And he was aggressive on the base paths too, which we
Yeah.
saw in the regular season.
He broke the AFL steals record, I'm pretty sure.
Well, there you go. So I was underselling it.
I think it was kinda wild that he did that, but, yeah, I mean, he's gotta have a leg kick to generate power. He's a shorter, stocky guy. Makes a lot of contact. They're, like, elite contact numbers, but Durbin might just be a utility guy. Like, he
Yeah.
was in the Braves org. They traded him for Lucas, Luetke, and the reliever who never did anything, and Durbin is, like, absolutely mashing. Chris Welsh will tell you that Durbin is 5'4". That's because Chris Welsh is 6'4", and everybody's short to him. Durbin was pretty close to my height, so I would say he's like 5'8", probably.
Mhm.
But yeah, I liked what I saw out of Durbin too. Gosh, I don't know if I've Brannigan cut up. You may actually have that. Let me look in the file because I think you may have that Brannigan Oppo home run in the drive because you had that one behind the plate actually.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
might
I had
be
it behind the plate in Scottsdale.
Yeah. He smoked one opposite field. No, that is Justice Bigby, who I will say Justice Bigby is somebody that I'm not in on anymore. Like, he's small. He's very skinny, and this is a league where Justice Bigby should have come out and dominated, and he looked lost, I'm not gonna lie. So I'm pretty out on Justice Bigby after what I saw. I think this is the Brannigan shot. Nope, that was the Brannigan ground out, but we did get a Brannigan look. I'll play that one.
We're still seeing I think a frozen shot of Tyler Told.
Nice. Just standing there. Yeah. Let me
Who was
remove.
actually, maybe just to say a few words on Tyler.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it Tolv or Tolvey?
I heard both announced.
Yeah, I don't trust the AFL announcers.
They don't know what's going on, man.
But anyway, catching prospect for the Braves was much larger than I expected in the sense that, like, really long arms and legs, really tall. He hit a ball that was conservatively 430 feet to dead center at Hohokam. They play, the grounds there are very weird. The batter's eye is actually in play, so we put it halfway up the batter's eye. Batter's eye was 410 at Hohokam. And they ruled it in play, so it was a stand-up triple for him. But I came away impressed with him. He hit the ball hard a lot while we were out there. Whether he's a catcher or not, I think is pretty up in the air just because he's big. He was like 6'3", and very lanky. And he had a pretty good arm on him too. I saw him throw out a couple of runners, which was a relatively rare occurrence in the AFL this year.
Yeah, I think this is a Brannigan home run. We're about to see. Oh, yeah, there it is. Obviously, the view, like, it's just the swing. But he went Oppo out of the park. That was off Thad Ward, actually, who pitched in the majors the entire season. So Brannigan's, I saw him in the regular season. I liked what I saw. He's smaller. I didn't say small, but like he's got some room to fill out. He does some impressive things, but also, like, I'm concerned about the break years. But we saw him. I'll have to figure out, see what pitch this was that he hit the home run on. Beck, you can share your thoughts here because this is somebody you liked.
Yeah, I mean, this was just one of the guys that I didn't know a ton about coming into the AFL season. He actually had a pretty strong 2023. He slashed 275, 390, 524 with 19 home runs and 24 stolen bases. So he was kind of an under-the-radar strong performer at A and high A. And what really grabbed my eye was he was the best defensive shortstop that I saw out there in a class that includes Carson Williams. Yeah. So, seeing him get to some oppo power here was great. There's probably a little bit of whiff in the profile that he'll need to sort out. I don't know how much faith that I have in the Pirates to figure that out, but yeah. I walked away, not really knowing who he was prior to October 1st and thinking this could be a guy that I rank in my next iteration.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's probably like a top 300 prospect, I'd say.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
300 to 400 range is probably fair. Here's some more Vuk. Let's see what he did here. I'm telling you, Vukovic was like, okay, like, I like this guy a bit. This is probably one that Caleb Roberts just blocked the whole time. Like, get out of the way, Caleb. Why are you doing this to us? Let's see what Vuk did. Okay. Slider up. I forgot who this was pitching. I will say I liked Andres Granillo a lot with the Cardinals. He pitched on Friday in Glendale, and he was nasty. I liked what I saw there. This isn't him. I don't. This is Panigua. I forgot to say his name. This is who this is. That was that fly we saw earlier. I saw him there. I was like, it's probably close to that Jace Bowen inside the Parker. That was so much fun, man. I got to see Bowen's smile. You got to see the smile when he came off. It was like he was just like loving life. And I just want to find it because it show you.
Yeah,
it was great.
He was beaming.
Yeah, that was a fun game for sure. Where did he hit in that lineup? Where was he? Oh, he was leading off. He was right before Vuk then. That Vuk shot was here. So there you go. There's Bowen. I completely missed him. Maybe. We'll see.
And I think this was the ball that we saw Victor Scott misplay.
It might have been. Yeah.
Kind of a screaming liner.
Yeah. Dude, the smile, it was just like a little kid. Like he just hit his first home run when he slid in. Like he was right in front of us. It's great. Let's see. Pass ball from Panigua. The bat boy took forever to get it.
There you go.
This was it. Yep, Scott misplayed it a little bit. It was weird off the bat. And Bowen was boogie, and I'm not going to lie to you. He was scooting. There's Vuk. Look at that smile. He was just loving life, man. Like that was like the best moment of his career, or at least the AFL. Like, dude may have never had inside the park home run before, but that was a lot of fun. So, man, this has been good. Going about an hour and a half. If you have any players that you want us to talk about, you can. If you want us to hop in and chat, like, and ask us a question, I can do that as well. So let us know. We can just hop in. We can, you can ask any questions. I'll have to I'll add you as a moderator if you do want to join. Just message in the chat if you do want to come in, and we can chat a little bit if you want. There's any more players you want. Mendez is one I will have to go. It's on my camera, but I run the side cameras the entire game. So basically, it's 2 to 3 hours of film, and so I can go find some swings on him that I'll get. Mendez is actually pretty big. I will say, like, that stood out to me a lot about Hendry Mendez, is that he was a pretty bigger build and athletic build at that too. So I can find that and I can share that in the Discord. I think we covered most everybody that we was asked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're talking about Mendez, Tyler. Yeah, I mean, he struggled a lot. Like, also, like, there was some hype, like, when he was in the DSL, I guess, that really, like, it got a lot of people in on him, and there was just never the results that, like, we all hoped for that he could have gotten to. And so I think there was still some intrigue based on, like, what I watched and saw. I was like, okay, like, this is at least the body was pretty interesting to me. And I was like, maybe there's a little bit more here.
He just looked overmatched to me.
Yeah.
I think he was the youngest player at the AFL, and that's a challenging position to be in. The body did look good. I mean, he looked like an athlete. He was bigger than I expected. I can see how people, would take any, film they watch of the DSL they could get their hands on, clips on Instagram, and come away with, thinking that he could be the next big international thing for the Brewers. But he looked like he wasn't quite ready to be there.
Yeah, I kind of agree with your sentiment there. Reggie Crawford is, like, probably the last one I want to hit on. He is a beast. He looks like Juan Soto, but bigger. I know the results haven't been there at all with Reggie Crawford, but my goodness, that dude, he looks the part for sure. And I need to pull up some of his film. But Reggie is somebody, like, I think if it clicks, could be really good. There's some intriguing aspects to his game. I don't know if you wanted to share anything. I don't have his open face clipped yet, but I do have a swing where he hit a shot to the opposite field, I'm pretty sure.
I missed who you were talking about. I was kind of combing through my notebook.
You're good. Reggie Crawford.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I think, like, he's missed so much time, and he's trying to do both that, like, the stat line, I don't really think does the athlete very much justice. He's huge. He is enormous. His
Yeah.
hands, I mean, everything about him is huge. He's got big, broad shoulders. Um, but yeah, I think it's gonna take some time, for it to come around. He only hit while we were out there.
Mhm.
But, when you haven't entirely ruled out both, at least to the best of my knowledge, I haven't ruled out both. It's gonna take some time for those things to come together.
Yeah, I heard he was gonna start throwing again after the AFL in hopes to pitch in the bullpen next year. Crawford literally, like, I know this is not the best shot, and I'll have to pull his open face for you guys, but, the swing and mechanics look a lot like Juan Soto, and he honestly looks like Soto. The build is very similar, but you can kinda see a little bit what I'm talking about. Like, there's a power upside here, and I think that if all clicks for Reggie Crawford, then I'm pretty in on him.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
yeah, he just hit, Greg. I know we kind of answered that. Notes on Yiner Fernandez. Yeah, I've got a couple things on him. He's small, like really stocky. Let's see if I got any. I'm pretty sure I cut some of his film actually. Um, he played second base. Like it's weird he's played second base. I don't know. I don't really know what to make of Yiner Fernandez, but I'm like the data's like all right on him. Oh, Dave McCabe. Yeah, Dave McCabe's
He's
he's
a
a good
beast.
one. Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah.
Let me pull up the Yiner Fernandez swing. I think this was just like I don't know exactly what happened here. But yeah, he's small as you can see. It's a little fly out. But yeah, look,
Yeah.
I mean, you can just see like he's not a big dude at all. Um, I want it like he looks a little more stocky in person than you're kind of getting the vibe here. And I think there's probably an open face shot of him that Beck got. Beck always puts camera on the first base side, so we got the open face of righties. Um, he didn't stand out in any particular way, but he's interesting just because he's in the Dodgers org. Placencia did not catch his home run. He only played in one game, I think that I was at least. I don't know if you saw any more of him.
No, I didn't. What I'll say about Fernandez, yeah, I would say unremarkable feels mean, but he didn't stand out in any real way. There was a game that we saw in Glendale where he picked up a couple of singles. He was really pushing the ball oppo, and
Mhm.
he almost got one out, opposite field. So, for his size, it was pretty impressive to see, even if the ball carries pretty well in the desert. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's much there just based on his size. I mean, it seemed like he got the bat on the ball pretty consistently, but he wasn't doing much with it. He was mostly just pushing singles over
Yeah.
shortstop, second base.
Yeah, I was gonna look and see. We definitely saw Placencia. I don't think he did a ton. He had 2 Ks on Friday night. We saw him. Thursday night, I don't think he actually was in the lineup, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he was in the lineup Thursday night when we were there. And yes, he was not in the lineup Thursday night. So both times I saw Scottsdale, like there was not much on him. He's very skinny. Like he looks like he's got a build that I think could fill out a little bit. But he didn't really do much. The swing was kind of like, it was okay. Ian Moeller is interesting. Ian Moeller threw out some runners. Like he looked
Yep.
decent enough behind the plate where he threw out some guys. I'll tell you, Ian Moeller's makeup's not good. Like that was always the knock in high school, and it hasn't really changed. Where he's got an attitude problem. So I don't know. I have some concerns, and that's just a little tidbit. It doesn't mean a ton, but it does matter. Moeller's small. I've got let's see. I know I've got a couple things of him. He got eaten up on some of the conspiracy stuff, but here's one of the caught stealings. He had a pretty decent pop. I
Mhm.
gotta remember who this was running, but I do have him throwing out a runner at least right here.
I thought Moeller looked like one of the better defensive catchers out there.
Yeah,
And that's, something that I look for because I used to play catcher. So, and I know that like pitchers and catchers aren't really that focused on the run
yeah,
game out here, especially this year with how many stolen bases there were.
yeah.
But, um, I think he nabbed a couple of runners in this game.
Yeah,
Which
he got
was
at least 3.
impressive.
This throw was not great, and that was Tyler Madonna, who's actually pretty quick, small, quick guy. And the pitch was like a off speed, so he was kinda set up based on where he was. But
Yeah.
you can kinda see, like, all right, so if I can get him and Montgomery, like, that doesn't really do it justice, though. Muller's not that big. Like, it looks like he's Montgomery's height, but he's not.
Mm.
Um, he's not a big guy by any means. The plate, he just doesn't look great. But, yeah, he wasn't bad defensively, I thought, at
The
least.
transfer there is pretty smooth. He got himself into an athletic position. That's
Yeah.
pretty much all I walked away from. I also he was not one of the players that I was most curious about in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's athletic because of size. That transfer is pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the throw was not
Throw.
good at all,
Yeah.
actually. But it just happened to be at a place where you could tag him, it worked out. I've got some McCabe. I love Dave McCabe, by the way. McCabe is 6'4", 250, and Dave McCabe had an 80% overall contact rate this year, and in the second half, it was 84%. Everybody's gonna kinda, like, look at the numbers and be like, he didn't really do much, but McCabe played in 2 of the worst hitters' parks in the minor leagues, and, yeah, he does. He feels like 6'6". We were up close to him a couple times. I'm like, "This guy's freaking massive." Like, he is huge. Um, so I'm pretty intrigued by McCabe. He's certainly better swing from the left side, and it actually occurred multiple times where they would swap pitchers. They would be a righty in, and they would swap and bring in a lefty. So he would move. He would have to switch like mid at bat to go to right handed side. It happened 3 times legit in 3 games I saw him. I was like, what is going on here? I'm not finding his stuff. I'm probably can find it on your camera most likely. But yeah, McCabe was fun. Yeah, he's a big boy who I think still pretty massively underrated, and I think that he's still a pretty good investment, actually. I don't think people call it up, and I think he's a corner infield masher that I think is gonna be capable of, being somebody, and I don't think people realize, like, what he's capable of. I'm not saying he's gonna, like, come and be, like, a stud or anything, but
My concern with McCabe is like where does he play?
yeah,
There's not a lot of at bats at first
yeah.
and third, that's a good problem to have. But I almost wonder if his future's not with Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, he could be a good piece of trade bait, honestly. I will tell you, Ivan Melendez, completely out on Melendez. Melendez has looked awful, so bad. He's somebody that I'd rather have McCabe over Melendez, if I'm being honest. And I don't know. Melendez looked horrific. The contact rates back that up. He's like 65% contact rate this year, and that's just not something that I can get behind personally. So I'm out on Melendez. I think here's a McCabe swing or at bat. Yeah, here we go. Here's some McCabe. So yeah, I would say get out on Melendez if you have the opportunity. Yeah, here's McCabe he actually got a bat from the left side. I don't know what he did here, to be honest. He may have struck out. He did have a hit this game. This was against Thad Ward as well, MLB pitcher, with his catcher Israel Pineda, who also has played in the MLB. So Ward was solid. I think he can be something. He's a deep league guy for the Nationals. Oh yeah, got him on the strikeout there, but yeah,
cut.
McCabe's big, dude. Like, I'm not sure if you can like really tell by this, but he's a massive human being. Like, when he stood next to us in the all deck circle, I was like, man, this guy is he's a big one. Let's see if Ivan Melendez, what he did here, probably chased.
They were playing Melendez at third base too, and I don't know how long that experiment's going to go on because he did not look good there.
Nah, I don't think he's very good there. He's also not as big as you think. Like, he's stocky, but he's short. Like, he's probably like 6 foot, 6'1". Always video, he looks a little bigger, but he was not big. The swing and miss is just so bad, to be honest. I don't know. I don't want anything to do with Ivan Melendez personally. And even Welsh said that. When Welsh said that, I was like, whoa, dang. Like, Welsh has always been a big Ivan Melendez guy. So I'm out on Melendez. Let's see what he did here. He chopped and hustled down the line, got thrown out. A lot of chase in this game, though. I'm not into Melendez. I've said that a couple times, but anyway, this has been fun, guys. I appreciate you hanging out. Those that hung out with us the whole time, really appreciate you doing that. Beck, any parting words? Anybody we missed that you wanted to hit on?
I've got a few, just like 2 or 3 players that I saw that I wish that I felt better about them, but what I saw was just not encouraging. So I'll leave you with Aaron Sabato. I saw him hit a 2 home run game in Glendale, one of the first days we were there. It's weird to say, but he actually looked pretty bad hitting 2 home runs. He was totally fooled for the entirety of those at-bats, and then picked up that, Darius Vines was pitching everybody backwards with breaking stuff and just sat fastball with 2 strikes. And Darius Vines does not have an overpowering fastball. So, he got a hold of 2 of them, but he looked completely fooled. And I don't think Vines has the greatest stuff in the world. So if you are looking at AFL numbers and thought maybe it's time to get back in on Aaron Sabato, I would not be. He also got pulled in a game before the Derby and ended up not participating, which was a little bit of a bummer, even if his replacement did quite well. Another guy that I saw in that game, Jake Eater.
I got some Eater stuff.
He's just not who he was pre-Tommy John. I've been saying for a while now that Tommy John is, while we've gotten very good at it, it is not a riskless procedure. His command was all over the place. My buddy that I was out there with, Aaron, said that when he was in the stretch, he saw different release points and different leg kicks on fastballs and breaking stuff. It just wasn't pretty. And I'm completely off of Jake Eater now. I've kind of lost hope that he's going to find, what he had pre-injury. He wasn't holding runners well. He wasn't throwing strikes. His stuff didn't look good. It was pretty sad because he was really, really fun before he got hurt. I don't know, Chris, anything that you want to add there just from the film?
There was only a couple things that were worth putting on the film because he was very erratic and wild. He did get Eric Brown Jr., as you saw here, and he faced Wes Clark as well. But it just wasn't impressive. The fastball set 91, 93 mostly. I wrote zero command at all. He had no feel of where these pitches were going at all. He threw one changeup maybe. The slider was anywhere from 78 to 81. But yeah, I was highly disappointed with Eater. I thought that the fall league could be an opportunity for him to rebuild some value. Yeah. And he didn't do that. If anything, he went the other way. And I don't know if he's I think he's probably post top 400 for me at this point, just on the glimmer of hope of what he did pre-Tommy John. But Eater just did not look the part at all, honestly. And these were just a couple of the highlights. But you're right. You can see the difference. Watch his leg. It's different every time. It wasn't consistent out of the stretch as he was from the windup, and he didn't repeat well at all. There was both from the stretch. So he threw differently to both Eric Brown and Wes Clark. All right, so here you go. Here's his next one. It's a smaller leg kick. Doesn't go back as far. He's tipping bad because you know what he's going to do. And then watch this one. The heck? Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. So the inconsistencies were a bit concerning there.
Yeah, we picked up on the tipping in the very first inning that we saw him from the stands, and that's never good. So the repeatability isn't there. He had no command with any of his offerings. It wasn't even like he could go to a pitch he feels comfortable with and land it for strikes. So it was disappointing. I was hoping that he'd be able to bounce back and be who he was, but I don't know that that's in the cards anymore. So I think outside 400 is probably right.
Yeah.
Does make the Marlins look pretty good on the Jake for Jake challenge trade.
Yeah,
so
there you
go. Good deal for them. And then the last one that I kind of had notes on that I was bummed about was Benny Montgomery. Didn't look very good while I was out there either. He looked like he was late on everything. He just wasn't ready for the pitch as it was coming out of the hand. With that said, he is an incredible athlete. He's one of those guys where he is running, and he doesn't look as fast as he is because his legs are so long.
Yeah, look at those
Um,
legs.
his his strides are just, and I mean, you can even see there he's bailing out at the last second. His kind of hips are moving all over the place. His leg, it to me it looked like a kid who got really tall really fast and isn't sure how to work his limbs quite yet. So I think there's hope for him. He's a great athlete. He had incredible wheels, but he never looked confident in the box, and the results weren't there while we were out there either. Even though he had a pretty good AFL on the whole.
Yeah, the overall numbers were all right, like from an average standpoint, but the power lacked completely. I do think the frame's interesting. You'd hope that he would have added a little weight by now, but he hasn't, and we're a couple years post his draft year. I don't know. I'm not sure where to rank Benny Montgomery exactly, but there were some concerning aspects of his game, and you just look in the swing, just kind of gives me some like, okay, like let's just go with slow mo. Like, I mean, so the hands are fine. He's already wide, big step back, all the weight to the back. The hands drop a lot. I mean, hands are
Yeah.
going from above the shoulder down like well below his armpit. Like that's
Yeah.
concerning a bit. There's a lot of moving parts. And then he's back, so the bat's moving backwards. I know that's obviously because he's striding forward, but the bat should be coming with him, not back up. So literally we're like high, low, high, and then we're trying to get back on bat path, which
Mhm.
this pitch should not have been one where his hands were that high. Like this pitch is belt high. Why is he coming back up and dipping his body like this? You look at the opposite of like DeLauder and how DeLauder, like he has this leg lock too, where his front leg kind of locks and but he doesn't transfer the weight nearly as good because he's getting this reverse C. Like, look at this back here of this like reverse C kind of thing. He's losing a lot by doing this, where the stride, hands are back up, there's the load, but that movement is causing him to lose a little bit before he's trying to like there's too many moving parts here with Benny Montgomery, and I'm just not sure like if he's going to make it. I have
Yeah.
legit concerns if he makes it or not, to be honest. So yeah, that's a disappointment to me too.
That's what I walked away with too. Is I'm not sure how this all comes together. I mean, maybe the good news with how bad this swing looks is like there are a few things that can be easily pointed out and addressed. I think him kind of bobbing the hands and churning butter before the hands come forward is something that he should be able to work on pretty easily. And if we're identifying it, you'd have to imagine Rocky's dev is
If
seeing
they
it as
have any
well.
dev.
So, yeah, right. I mean, I don't trust them to fix it, but these are problems that are pretty glaring. And he just looked like he wasn't ready on any pitch. He didn't look like he had a sense for what was coming. Some of these guys, they are making their best guess, and when they get that pitch, they're demolishing it. And Benny just never looked like he had a sense for what was coming.
Nope. He had no clue what to expect there on that first pitch. And he comes back on this one, and I don't think he knows what's coming either. And it's just too many moving parts. The swing is not ideal. I don't know. I don't love it at all, to be honest with you. So yeah, Montgomery certainly fits the mold of disappointing in the fall league. We cannot trust any Rockies development at all. So yeah, that's a true statement there, Greg. I'm not sure. I mean, we could talk about guys all night. Like I've got film on everybody. Maybe we come back and do this again. We go some lesser heralded guys. I think this is a lot of fun. Thank you all for hanging out with us tonight. Went a lot longer than I thought, but it was good. Good conversation. If you are in the room and you haven't joined our room, be sure to do that. Join the Dynasty Dugout room on playback. I'm hoping that come January that I'll be streaming every day here, like doing a live stream every day. That's my goal. So we'll see how that goes. We'll definitely be doing more of this stuff. This is a lot of fun. Just coming in here, breaking players down. Yeah, the platform's cool. Like it's a new thing, but I like the platform. There's an app. The app's really great too. So you can download the app if you want some playback. And yeah, we'll certainly be doing this more often. Thanks for all the participation. I had a blast, Beck. Thank you for joining me for this. And any parting words?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. This was a fun experiment. I hope it sticks around. The platform's great. I think being able to break down film, with folks in chat and maybe even bringing them up to chat with us too.
Yeah.
We've got a great community, so having the interaction was awesome. Thanks
Yeah.
for hanging out with us all night. This was a great time.
Yep, and everybody's still here an hour and 47 minutes later. Thank you to Ravens82. We got Greg. We still got Michael reducing juice. Michael's awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
He's new to the Discord, but he's a sharp player, so glad to have him. And Tyler Warren, the prospect alchemist out there. Are these rewatchable? Yeah, so I'm gonna download it and put it on YouTube so you can watch it on YouTube. And I may do an audio version of this too. We'll see how it goes. So I'm not sure if you can rewatch it on playback or not, but I'll see. If not, it's going up on YouTube, so you can see that on the Dynasty Dugout YouTube channel. So yeah, we'll certainly have that. If you missed some of the beginning, you can go back and see that too. So awesome, guys. Well, thanks, and I hope you all have a good night. I'll let you know when we're doing this again, but hopefully hope to make this more of a regular thing. We will see you on the flip side. See you in the Discord. Have a good night.